Hi, this is Becky Nunn with Nunn Design. One question that we're asked quite frequently, either in customer service or when I'm at a trade show, is how do I make using the technique of glass domes waterproof? And so in this video, I'd like to talk about how you can make glass domes waterproof by using gel de Soleil. Gel de Soleil is a single part resin, and it is cured when it's exposed to UV light. And that's what I have over here, a UV light machine. Typical resins take up to 72 hours to cure by mixing a 2-part mixture. With the gel de Soleil, it only takes 20 minutes to cure. It's a beautiful thing. So for this video, you will need to have a collage sheet or some sort of imagery that you'd like to use, a paintbrush, some Nunn Design glue, gel de Soleil, a couple toothpicks, and maybe some head pins, some glass. I have a bezel to insert this in at the very end, and I have a business card. This allows me to pick up very easily and insert the piece into the UV lamp once the resin is on the piece. When you receive your UV lamp, one of the questions that we're often asked is, how in the world do I insert the light bulb? So let me just show you real quick by taking mine apart. So you see how this UV lamp light bulb, it pops out. I'm going to take it all the way out so you can see this. So you would receive the light like this and the light bulb separate. And I'm going to go ahead and insert the light bulb. You just enter it into the socket and snap it down into place. There we go. So now you see it's locked down into position and you're ready to rock and roll. That is how you insert the light bulb into the lamp. The next step you're going to want to do is use the Nunn Design glue to seal the image that you have. UV resin and a porous surface do not get along. You want to make sure that you create a barrier between the paper, the porous surface, and the resin. Otherwise, the inks will tend to bleed and also the paper will darken. I like to use my little glass domes because it magnifies the piece and I can kind of get an idea of how I want to crop my image and also identify which images I want to seal. I really like this little bird right here. So go ahead and take your Nunn Design glue, and I have a very fat, nice brush here, and I'm just going to put it right over the top of the piece. The Nunn Design glue will come out milky white, but it completely cures clear after it is dried. I think I also like this image down here, so I'm going to go ahead and use some of the Nunn Design glue over the top of that. Again, purely to create a barrier between the UV resin and the porous surface of the paper. After 20 minutes of applying the Nunn Design glue over your collage sheet or your porous surface, you're ready to start using your gel de Soleil. What I like to do is pop the top off of my gel de Soleil because it's much easier to have the pour come out nice and smooth and easy. I want to make sure that my glass dome is nice and clean. I had a little fiber right across there, so I'm making sure that that glass dome is nice and clean. Go ahead and apply a very small amount. Again, this is a resin, and the rule of resin is always under pour, and you can add more later. UV resin is very thick. It's kind of like a syrup or like a maple syrup, but even a carob syrup. It's just really thick. So I'm just putting a little bit of the UV resin onto the back of my glass, and then I'm going to just place it right onto my image. And when you see me squeezing it around like that, I'm trying to make sure that all of the excess air is out from underneath that glass dome. I'm even coming up from behind and pressing firmly to make sure that there's a full contact because the edge on the back is slightly concaved. So you just want to make sure that all of the excess air is out. And if you did by chance get any of the UV resin on your glass piece, you're going to want to wipe it clean at this time, because once this UV resin is exposed to this UV light, it's going to start to cure instantaneously, which is one of the beauties of it. So I think I had either a fingerprint or I had some resin over on this side that I'm trying to clean up. Now, the next thing is we're going to put it under the UV light and we're going to cure it for 60 seconds. And you only want to do it for 60 seconds because we're going to go in with a pair of scissors and we're going to trim away that excess. And I'm going to tell you why you only want 60 seconds in a minute. It's under the UV lamp, and now it is curing, and I'm counting. After 60 seconds, go ahead and turn off your UV lamp. Let's see how we are doing. So that resin is already pretty firm. It did get a little bit of my fingerprint in there, so I know it's not completely cured. And I might want to go ahead and put it back in for about another 15 seconds or so. But what we're going to do is we're going to cut with a pair of scissors around the side edges. One of the things that I have found when I've been doing this is that if you let it cure too long, what happens is that when you go to cut, it separates the paper from the glass. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to prevent from the resin being too cured, because when we go around and cut, what happens is the paper separates from the glass, and that is what's causing that discoloring right there. Because basically you have a glass-like surface attached to a glass-like surface, and they separate, and it shows up in there. So don't let it cure too long. That's the whole moral here. Once your piece has been cured for 60 seconds, just take a pair of scissors. Some people have said that they like using an X-Acto knife to cut with, and that works great too, but I think a pair of scissors is great. Now I'm just going in and trimming around the edge of the piece, and I say I'm giving the glass dome a haircut. What's really nice about these glass domes is I showed you that slight edge. This edge right here, that is optically hiding any of those cut marks so that it doesn't have to be perfect when you cut. Because look, that's pretty ragged, but it doesn't really matter. It still looks great. So then after I've done it for 60 seconds, you can go ahead and put it back under the UV lamp and now let it cure for 15 more minutes. After your piece is sat for about 20 minutes, you're now ready to do the back side. And this is what's really helping the piece be waterproof, is we're going to go ahead and paint the Nunn Design glue on the back side now, and then we're going to put another coat of the UV resin on the back side. And that is what's going to make it completely sealed, so that both sides have been protected, and then you're able to put it inside of your bezel and have it be waterproofed. And then with the Nunn Design glue, you're going to go ahead and paint a little bit of that on the back side of the piece and let it sit for another 20 minutes while that glue is drying. You're going to want to make sure that all of the piece has the glue on it so that it is completely sealed. I'm using a little wet wipe to clean off the glue from my sides here. And now we're going to let that sit for a little bit before we put the gel de Soleil over the top of it. When you're putting the gel de Soleil on the back side, one of the things that you're going to want to take into consideration is not doing what I did on this piece here. I domed it a little bit high. And when you dome it too high, it makes it really unusable because you won't be able to put it inside of your bezel and have it be flush into the piece. So you want to make sure that when you put that gel on the bottom side that you just have a very small amount, and the whole purpose is just to cover all of that paper so that you're preventing any of the water from being able to absorb in. Once your glass dome, with the Nunn Design glue on the back is dry, you're ready to put the UV resin on the back side. I went ahead and used a business card because I like to be able to transfer it easily into the piece once I put that UV resin on the back side, because otherwise if I pick it up, I'm going to get some of that UV resin on my fingers. Just like we did the last time, because this is a resin, we under pour, right? I'm using a toothpick, and now I am bringing it over to the side edges, and I have way more than I need. So you can use that trick of picking it back up and not wasting a lot of the excess gel de Soleil. Do you see that I'm so used to having things be nice and domed when I'm working, so I put in a little bit too much. And if we put in too much, we know what happens. It won't fit into that bezel well. So I'm just taking some of it off. You only need a small little amount. So go ahead and make sure that you have all of those edges nice and covered. And once you do, you're ready to put it into the UV lamp and let it sit for another 20 minutes. Into the UV lamp it goes. The light comes on. And now we're going to have a two-sided glass piece that is waterproof. After 20 minutes, go ahead and turn off your lamp, pull out your piece, and you're ready to put a little bit of glue. I like using a 527 bond cement or an E6000, some sort of really heavy-duty glue inside of my bezel to attach that on. You don't need to worry about that being pretty or not being pretty. You just flip it over and put it on in the bezel. And now you have a nice waterproof glass dome where you used very little UV resin and yet you have a super high domed look like you're seeing here. This is Becky Nunn, giving you some tips and techniques of how you can use glass domes and make them waterproof using UV resin gel de Soleil.